Now shifting our focus to something positive. India and Malaysia have agreed to settle trade in Indian rupees. The Ministry of External Affairs has announced that this comes in the backdrop of ongoing official efforts to safeguard the Indian trade from impact of the Ukraine-Russia war. The shift away from the US dollar, which has been the dominant reserve currency for international trade, so far has added significance as it indicates that India is willing to take concrete steps towards de-dollarization of its international trade. This, of course, comes after 18 countries had earlier expressed interest in trading with India in rupees. I'm being joined by Dr. Sharad Kohli, a senior economist. Sir, how do you view this development? How do you think that this can help in ease of business between India and Malaysia?
Well, Indian rupee is increasingly getting more acceptable around the world. As you rightly said, we've got 18 countries now with whom we have a rupee versus their currency account. And just to help the Newsix viewers understand as to how this works, like for example for Malaysia, the IIBM of Malaysia has opened a Wastro account with Union Bank of India, and the Indian importers can pay directly into the Wastro account. But what you need to keep in mind, and you need to understand the mathematics and the mechanism behind this, that only with the countries where we have fair amount of trade, when the bilateral trade balance is near equal, this will work in the long term, because you need to settle the Wastro account with the respective currencies. So as far as the Malaysian ringgits are concerned, India will have to make sure that it is also doing enough of exports, because right now we have about $14 billion approximately of bilateral trade between India and Malaysia, out of which $9 billion is imports and about $5 billion is exports. So I think India will have to inch up to see that this trade balance is, the negative trade balance is neutralized, because then this rupee trade will flourish. Because what happened with Russia was that we were importing a lot of oil, and there was a lot of rupee payment piling up, which Russia didn't know what to do with. So you need to keep in mind, but it's a very, very positive move, and I think Indian currency getting more popular around the world, it will also reduce our dependence on US dollars. It will preserve our forex reserve, which has so much been in, so many countries have run into trouble because of forex reserve. Take, for example, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, their exports were seized. So if this arrangement of rupee goes, I think our dependence on forex reserve, especially on US dollars, will reduce. And it will also make the rupee and Indian trade more acceptable around the world. India's global trade prowess would increase overall, without a doubt, Pia.
Yes, sir. You just mentioned that our neighboring countries are going through some sort of economic trouble, and that I also mentioned earlier that 18 countries, including the likes of the United Kingdom, Russia, Israel, and Fiji, are looking to trade in Indian rupees with us. How do you think this could result in some sort of internationalization of the rupee? Do you think this is possible in the near future?
Well, maybe not in immediate future, but we have started treading on the road to that. At least we made a beginning, and if you take a few years ago, you could not have dreamt of the Indian rupee going global by any means. I think with the efforts of this government, the rupee is getting more and more acceptable. Yes, maybe in the times to come, when India has been, projected as a bright spot, a shining star, and India as being, the world's Vishwa Guru. So I think we are not very, very far from the time when rupee will become an internationally acceptable currency. And I anyway see the dominance of dollar coming down in the years to come. I think dollar at this moment, because of the interest rate hikes at its peak as far as the Indian rupee is concerned. But with the flux of time, you will see that the American economy may not be able to hold itself, and that's when the rupee will start getting more strength, as we say. But I think, as I said, a very important thing which the Indian exporters need to do is they need to catch up on exports, because the Wastro account success really depends upon the trade balance. If the trade balance is sharply on the negative side, then you end up piling up rupees here. For example, if Malaysia has got the Wastro account with Indian Bank, and if the rupee keeps piling up, so Malaysia at some point will say, what are we going to do with so much of rupees, because you're not exporting enough to fetch ringgits. So I think Indian exports need to boost with more and more with the new trade policy, which has just come a couple of days ago, $2 trillion as the target. I think with the exports catching up, you will see more and more acceptability of Indian rupee. So it will all depend on exports. That Indian exporters really need to pull up their socks and gear up. As far as Malaysia is concerned, we are importing from them nuclear reactors. We are importing from them electronic equipment. We are importing from them some chemicals. So I think we need to reduce dependence on imports as well, or increase our exports. So one of the two things have to happen for this rupee trade to be progressing very strongly. Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast and presenting your insights on this development. Now we shift our focus to another